You can't build emes on sheker. You cannot build truth on a lie.
Welcome to Prism of Torah with Rabbi Asaf Aaron Prisman, engaging Divrei Torah, packed with stories and practical insights. Find us wherever you get your podcasts or at prismoftorah.org.
Shalom Uvracha. In this week's parsha, Parshas Yitro, we know that Yitro is coming now to Moshe Rabbeinu to hear the amazing stories and miracles that occurred. And as he comes there, he sees the whole system in place, the law system in place, how Moshe Rabbeinu is in charge and everyone's coming to him with this problem. And he criticizes it and he says, if you continue like this, it's going to be burnt out. The whole system will be burnt out. You and everyone's going to lose out of it. You should change. You should have several levels of support system going on here. And at the end, Moshe Rabbeinu listens to him and makes the change. The question I want to raise is, surely there were many, many people that have seen what's happening here. Thousands of people were involved, and yet no one came to say anything. Yitro came, and what did he do to deserve that Moshe Rabbeinu will listen to him and make the change based on what he suggested? That's question number one. Question number two, we know that our sages tell us that Moshe's father-in-law, Yisro, was also called Yisro from the root of Yeser, meaning Yeter, extra, because he caused an extra section to be added to the Torah. That section where he tells Moshe Rabbeinu that I think you should change your whole system over here of law. And the question is, what did he do to deserve that? And perhaps, what did he do to deserve that a whole parsha will be named after him? Not only a parsha that is a very important parsha, where we are receiving the Torah. There must be some correlation over here. Based on Rav Yeruchem in Das Torah, he says something along the following lines. We all know that people constantly criticize. They always have an opinion. They always know better. As we grew up, when someone's in the back seats, he always told the driver what he should do. Don't do this, don't do this. He didn't really say what yes to do, but he said what not to do. So why is it that whatever Yisro said, to that criticism, Moshe Rabbeinu listened to? And perhaps this also brings us to a more fundamental question, which is being critical an advantage? Is it a pro? Is it a con? So Rav Yeruchem explains that the answer to that question totally depends on how you use the criticism. What do you do with it? What are you seeking? Rav Yeruchem says that we know that Yitro was someone that was seeking the truth. He was constantly seeking the truth. And how do we know that? The Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, tells us, Kshot atzmecha ve'achar kach kshot achrim. First, judge yourself and only then judge others. Rabbi Yeruchem says the difference between a complainer and a truth seeker is whether you actually apply the same standard to yourself. If you do, then obviously your criticism is coming from a very healthy, genuine point of view, a point of view that you're trying to reach the truth in every situation. This is exactly what made Yisro very unique. His whole life, Chazal tell us, he personally searched for the truth, investigated every religion in the world. He wasn't just curious. He was actually a priest of Avodah Zarah. He tried every form of Avodah Zarah, fully immersed himself in each one until he realized this was sheker, this was not the truth, and he went to the other one and the next one until he realized that Yiddishkeit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Torah is what it's all about. That honest, painful self-criticism gave him the credibility to offer criticism to others, even to the Heilige Moshe Rabbeinu. But there's something else that he did in his criticism that's unique. The Gaon in Vilna says that the best type of criticism is not the one that you're just telling someone why something's wrong, but it's a type that you actually give a proper alternative. You suggest something positive, and that is exactly what Yisro did as well. He didn't just say, this system's never going to work. You're just burning yourself out. He did say those words. Navol tibol. It's ungood. The whole system's going to die out. Everyone's going to lose out if you continue like this. There's only so much one person can take a load on himself. He didn't just say that. He says, what I think you should do, you should build a system. For every 10 people, you have one person in charge. And for every 100 people, you have another person in charge. And for every 1,000 people, you have someone in charge. This also was a litmus test. This revealed that he was really searching for the truth and wanted it to work. He came from a good place. Perhaps it's those two reasons that made Yisro so unique in the sense that Moshe Rabbeinu listened to him. With that, we can answer another question. My friend Rav Geffen pointed out a beautiful diuk. When Rashi says that the reason Yitro was called Yitro is because there was an extra part of the parsha that was added thanks to him, instead of pointing to the words where the parsha started, when Yitro is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, if you continue like this, everything's going to go down, he doesn't point to that place in the Psukim. Rashi points to the place where Yitro started being positive and saying the better approach, the better alternative, that suggestion, perhaps hinting to us, this is the godless of Yitro. And it's perhaps this seeking of the truth, because he first criticized himself and finding the truth in the world, and only then criticized others. And also because it suggested a positive way, an alternative, those two are not only what made Yitro unique, but perhaps they are the reason that Moshe Rabbeinu listened to him. They are the reason he was zoiche to have a whole parsha based on his name, and not only a parsha is connected to Mattan Torah, which perhaps teaches us that to be able to be compatible with the Torah, we have to ensure that we seek the truth and do whatever it takes to reach the truth. And hence also that whole parsha of him criticizing Moshe Rabbeinu, not just a regular Jew, but Moshe Rabbeinu, the top of the top. He was zoiche for that as well. I think the obvious practical takeaway from this Dvar Torah that we see, and we're actually getting it from a Yeruchem, is before we criticize anyone, we really have to ask ourselves two questions. Am I holding myself in the same standard? Am I seeking the truth when I'm doing this? Am I offering a solution, or I'm just complaining and being negative? Or I'm saying, if you do this, it'll be so much better. I would like to end with an unbelievable story. Rav Israel Salanter, the founder of the mussar movement, would travel from town to town giving lectures, hoping to inspire people to work on themselves and grow. He was not only a master of mussar, but a tremendous Talmid Chacham who knew the entire Torah. One day, he was delivering a lecture to a large crowd. In the middle of his presentation, someone in the back of the room called out a question that challenged his entire premise. The room just went totally quiet. Everyone leaned in, curious to see how the great rabbi would respond. Rav Israel Salanter paused. He thought for a moment, then he put his head in his hands. 1 minute passed, the silence was defeating. 5 minutes passed, 20 minutes passed. The crowd was just totally frozen, unsure what was happening. After a full 30 minutes, Rav Israel Salanter lifted his head, he looked at the crowd and said simply, "Good question, I don't know." He closed his books and began to leave. One of his students ran after him, "Rebbe, you could have answered like this and offered this answer." Rav Israel Salanter shook his head. "I know I could have answered like that, but this is a reason why it was just not the truth. It's not a good answer." Another student approached, "But Rebbe, what about this answer?" Again replied, "I thought of that too. Here's why it doesn't work." Finally, he explained, "In the first minute, I thought of every possible answer I could give. I realized they were all flawed, but then I came up with an answer that was beautiful. It would have satisfied the person that asked the question completely, no doubt about it. I was sure. But there was just one problem. It just simply wasn't the emes. It wasn't the truth. The person asking wouldn't have known it was wrong, but I know it was wrong." He paused and he said, "For the next 29 minutes, I wrestled with myself. Do I say it? Do I not?" And I finally came to this conclusion. You can't build emes on sheker. You cannot build truth on a lie. And let's not forget that his whole movement he was trying to build was retrospection, to ensure you're growing in spirituality and you don't lose the goal of the important journey we have in this world. And he continued to say, if you're trying to build something from the foundations and you trick people, it will eventually collapse. Even if there's truth mixed in, the foundation is rotten. I was willing to be embarrassed in front of everyone rather than build my teaching on a lie. This is exactly what we learn from Yisro. This is the first test of a truth seeker, someone that is always running after the truth. Do you hold yourself to the same standard you hold others? Rav Israel Salanter could have walked away looking brilliant. No one would have known, but he knew. And for a genuine truth seeker, that's enough. Have a good Shabbos.
This concludes another episode of the Prism of Torah. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something valuable. If you did, please subscribe to the podcast and give a 5-star rating. You can also find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts or our own website, prismoftorah.com, where we have a full archive of all our past episodes. We would like to thank Yonu Vefa for the recording equipment and Eli Podcast Productions for handling all our post-podcast productions. Join us next week for another enlightening conversation on the Prism of Torah.